couple of people have emailed today. Someone's mother's in the hospital, someone else is ill, so I just think we have a bad time right now. But we will move ahead since the four of you have been kind enough to spend some time with us today. And I think first I'd like to introduce our commissioner, KUB Commissioner Kathy Hamilton, who was also kind enough to join us today. I do have to say, talk about the minutes. You received the December minutes for review. Any corrections? But no corrections? No. You're good. Okay, then we will assume they are approved. So even though we were going to do a big introduction, we're still going to have the four of you introduce each other. Cheryl told me that she actually read all your bios, which is great. Well, Cheryl, I thought you could handle this part. No, we're just going to I'd like to ask each of you to your name, your organization, and why you were interested in being a part of the panel. And we'll start over here with you, John.
So I'm John Nolt. I'm a retired philosophy professor from UT, and very much interested in environmental ethics. That was the topic that I taught when I was there mostly. You asked one more question that I forgot already.
Why you were interested in being a part of this panel?
I'm interested because of all the environmental implications that power usage and power generation has, and so I'll be talking about those kinds of issues if I have anything to say.
And John is a returning member of the CAP, as is Cheryl. Okay, Brian.
Thank you. My name is Brian Strutz. I am a restaurant person. My wife and I and some partners have a few. We have a pizzeria downtown and a couple potchkis, a new bagel shop that just opened. And I was interested in this panel mostly because we are pretty big customers of KUB through a retail setting, but restaurants are, if you've ever worked in one, are not very ecologically sustainable businesses, but there's a lot that we create, there's a lot of waste, it's just a lot of people, it's a lot. And how that interacts in the local community with KUB was interesting to me, particularly grease control, plumbing, and that's it, really. And I was asked to do this, and I can't say no.
Cheryl.
I'm Cheryl Ball. I am the Chief Policy Officer for the City of Knoxville. And probably in order of influence, my former boss asked me to take this role when she took a role with KUB, Aaron Gill. And the city, of course, and KUB are great partners, and it's a really important relationship for us, so we always look for those opportunities to partner and support. The sustainability team at the city of Knoxville also reports up through me, along with housing and some others, but anyway, and so our teams do interact on the regular with Erin and her team and various others on various other a broad cross-section of things, from not just in my departments, but also, you know, KUB has a role in every permit for any kind of construction that happens in the city of Knoxville. And so there's a lot of different ways in which our teams interact. And then just as a personal, as a citizen of the city of Knoxville and a resident, I absolutely have lots of personal interest in all of the things that we do in our community that impacts our long-term future. So this is one of them.
Thank you. And when I was talking about you reading all the bios, I was impressed because I'm never sure how many people read all the stuff we send out.
I'm not going to tell you I read all of the stuff.
Cheryl, now you're beginning to disillusion me. Don't pop my bubble.
I'm probably not the person who's reading your commissioner meeting. I'm just going to say that. However, anyway.
Okay, Misty.
I'm Misty Goodwin, and I, like Cheryl, sort of inherited my role from Barbara Kelly, who is the Executive Director of the Community Action Committee at CAC. I'm the Chief Program Officer there, and my interest is we run the LIHEAP program, and we also help facilitate the Project Help program for KUB. And so we see many, many people, serve over 4,000 people each year with our low-income energy assistance program, and work pretty much daily with KUB and the counselors here. I know our staff is consistently on a daily basis calling in and asking to hold an account or let us, get a payment made on behalf of someone. And so we just really work hand in hand with the community and KUB.
Great. And you're going to have to go through this again when we have a fuller group.
Do we get to mix it up and say something totally
You
different?
could.
I probably
We could
won't.
talk about that.
I probably won't.
Okay, today, KUB wants your input about their customer service, their customer self-service tools and customer information system, or what they call the CIS. And Tiffany Martin, whom you know, the Senior Vice President and Chief Customer Officer, is going to give an overview of the CIS, why it's important to the customer's experience, and why KUB is replacing their current system. And your input will really be timely because KUB is still in the process of developing the system. I was then going to say that following her presentation, we were going to break into small groups, but I think this is our small group. So I will turn it over to Tiffany.
And I just want to reiterate a thanks to you all for being here today. As Dawn mentioned, we're going to talk about our customer information system and more specifically customer self-service tools. And we really want your feedback on those tools. And really the purpose of that is we're always constantly wanting to make sure that the tools that we make available are useful and they're what customers need. We're at a pretty pivotal point in our history in terms of selecting a new system. And so because of that, we thought it would be really critical to get feedback from you guys on the front end as we're going through that selection process of things that you like about how you interact with us today with some of those self-service tools, things that you would improve if you could improve them, and things that maybe aren't there at all that we should consider as we're looking at systems. So again, thank you all and look forward to hearing all your feedback on things. So before we get into the actual feedback session, I'm just going to talk really briefly about CIS in general so that you understand what that is and why it is so important to us. It is essentially the system that must be in place for us to serve our customers. It stores all customer information. It also stores all account and service information for us. So we could not do business with you as a customer if we did not have this system in place. Beyond it being kind of that repository for all the information, it is also the system that helps facilitate us serving your needs and meeting customer requests. So when you call in to one of our customer service professionals, this is the system that they're logging into to be able to understand what's happening, and then they also create orders from that system that goes to our field personnel or may go to another person that's not physically in the field but that's in the office that can help support solving that problem or answering a question for you as a customer. You also will see the CIS system in your self-service transactions with us. So on our website and on our mobile app, that system supports that functionality. And so that's why it's so critical. It must be a really good tool so that it can meet all the needs of the various types of customers that we have. Obviously, Brian runs a business, and what he might need from a business standpoint might be slightly different than what he may need at his home and for those personal things. So our goal is to try to make sure those tools meet both of those needs. And so really, just to give a little bit of history about our current system and why we are in the mode to replace it, we implemented the system that we're currently in the early 2000s, so it's hard to believe it's almost been 25 years since that system was put in place. I would say I'm super proud of our team because we do try to work really hard to be good stewards of the systems and investments that we make, and we try to keep them running as long as they possibly can and be usable to us in the community. And so we've done a great job of modifying and upgrading and updating that system across those, about 25 years. But I think we've done as much as we can to keep the ball rolling, and we obviously want to make sure that we're moving and getting some of those more modern tools and functions as we go along. So that's really a big part of why we're here, and we'll talk about that a little bit more in a moment. With regard to the self-service functionality, that didn't come along with the system right away. So we obviously implemented the system, took some time to understand it, and our staff internally be able to navigate that system. And then we said, hey, there are customers that don't necessarily want to call and talk to us. Sometimes they want to be able to just do this at midnight, or when they're able to do it and not during our business hours to be able to do some of those transactions. How about we expose that out to customers on our website? And so we did implement and make a customer portal available around about 7 years ago. And so you all hopefully have used it. And if you haven't, today we'll talk a little bit about some of the functions that are available with that system. And then a couple of years after making that functionality available on our website, we also launched a mobile application, just understanding that not everybody wants to be at their desktop. While we put some features into our website that allowed it to be mobile friendly, we knew that just having a native app was something that most companies provide to their customers, and that would really be a helpful tool. So we also implemented a mobile application. So that was around the pandemic time frame. And so that was probably a great time. At the time, we didn't know the pandemic was going to happen, but it was probably a great time to launch that for our customers. And then kind of thinking about that customer information space and those systems, when we brought on our new fiber division, we also needed to have a system that allowed for us to serve our fiber customers. And so at that time, it made more sense to have a really service-specific system to serve that customer set because it's a little different. It's a little unique when you think about it and the services provided through fiber versus the services that we provide with our other 4 utilities. And so we do have a smaller system for that. So before I move on, let me stop there. If there are any questions kind of about the journey of how we got to having a CIS and why it's important.
I have one question. So this would otherwise be known as the KUB customer portal?
Yes, absolutely. Mm-hmm. And that's really what we will focus on this afternoon is the pieces that you see, the portal piece of things. Obviously, it's a much larger system, as I said, that kind of supports that functionality. But yes, and I think one unique piece of information that is probably not privy to everybody in the room, but Misty, because you are one of our partners that helps with assistance, there is another version of our portal that's available to agencies. So someone that is providing support for a customer, it's a little different information, a little different interface, a little different needs there as someone that's supporting. So we won't talk about that portal today. We will really talk about the portal that if you were looking at something for your household, that's what we'll talk through. Yes.
Okay. So when this was being decided on, I'm imagining outside of billing, there aren't a lot of reasons to get on an app for your utility provider. So what tipped the scales in favor of an app over just a mobile-friendly route?
Well, actually, there are some other functions there. So we do allow for users to see their actual energy usage and set up notifications and reminders related to that. And then we also do allow customers to initiate transactions. So I need to stop my service or I need to transfer my service to a new location. And so we found that with some of the push notification functionality that goes along with an application, it seemed like some of those functions lined up to allow for an app would be a good tool to provide. So you're right. Oftentimes you think about that payment functionality, and I will tell you that was pretty much the first thing that was developed, but then we quickly learned there's so many other functions that customers would like to be able to do without human intervention. And so I think that's what led us to say, okay, let's also make the app available so that customers that like using apps, like using those native notifications, have that same flexibility.
And it's great for outage reporting too, so.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, I think, if I understand you right, that you can't access data with respect to KUB fiber through this customer portal, is that right?
So there is actually a separate fiber portal, so, and I'll talk about that a little bit in a moment. So you do have portals for both, but today they're separate. And so that is
Yeah.
another one of the reasons why we want to develop a new system or implement a new system, because
Yeah.
that will help us merge some of
I
those systems.
think that would be helpful, because I think people may not think of it, it's all KUB, but this is fiber and that's
Yes.
the rest. Yeah. It would
Absolutely.
be helpful to have that all in a single place.
Can I ask you all, she is going to solicit that kind of feedback from you. So right now, let's just stick to, if you didn't understand something, and let's hear her presentation.
Thank you, John. That is a great segue into the why we're doing this. So I will say that one of the things that I've already kind of hit on, it is a much older system. And so obviously technology changes very rapidly. I think we all know that and experience that. While we've had great success in allowing us to grow the system as our customer base has grown and expectations have grown, just at some point, having the modern tools and technology necessary to provide some of the functions just aren't there. So that is one of the reasons, is it's an aging system, and so we want to definitely move into some of the more modern tools. The other is, over time, our staff changes and their expertise and their experience, and you know, they're working on other more modern systems, and we also have staff that have been here with us many, many years, and it's time for them to kind of take on their new chapter in life and retire, and so they take that knowledge with them, and so we obviously want to make sure that we have the right set of staff here to also support those systems. I think to your point, Dr. Knoll, with us bringing on fiber, we obviously knew we had to bring in a new IT system to support that, and to make sure that we were meeting our commitments and starting that fiber division and starting that work very quickly. We chose a system that was already available that can do those functions instead of trying to recreate something in our system. But understanding that a customer that we're serving with all 5 services, they expect kind of that one view of their account. And so we're hoping that this system will help us do that, not only for you as a customer, but for our customer service professionals that are supporting you. So today, they may need to look in 2 systems to support you, and they do a great job of that. And so for most customers, it's pretty invisible. You don't really know that that's happening, but we want to make that as seamless as possible for you when you're interacting with us, but also for our professionals as they're supporting customers. And it just makes that transaction more efficient, and it goes much better if they're able to stay in one single system. In addition to that, we also want to, you know, as much as we can, have the latest and greatest tools for customers and the latest and greatest communication functions. So some of the newer systems have built-in ways to communicate and notify customers. And so I think I shared with you guys during orientation, that is one of our goals, is to not surprise you. And so if we know something, try to make sure that you know it as well. And so anything that we can do to have technology that helps support that, being able to push out messages and get you all things in real time, that's always helpful. So that's another reason, is just really how do we make sure we leverage as many tools as possible to best serve our customers. So now you kind of understand the why and the how. For today, like I said, we are really going to focus on the customer self-service portion of things. And when you think about our portal, it's almost kind of divided into 3 buckets. You've got the information that you can see as a customer. So I can see my account balance, I can see my usage information, I can see, you know, things that have happened on my account per se. That's kind of the information piece. So you're not really doing anything with that other than learning and having that information readily available to you. The next is orders and requests. So I want to transfer my service to another location. So really a wizard to kind of walk you through that, and then once you're done completing that transaction, it notifying us to take the steps that we need to make sure we're transferring that service to you. or you perhaps may be having financial difficulty or had a banking issue. And so being able to extend your due date on, a bill that's upcoming, that's also something that's available. So it's more of one section's information, another section is actually, I need you to do something for me. And then the third, as you mentioned, Brian, is kind of the obvious, I want to make a payment, let's make that transaction fairly easy for me. So prior to today, you all received a summary sheet of kind of some of the things or all the things that you can do within our customer portal. Hope you all had an opportunity to look at that at least, and I hope some of you guys are utilizing it, because today is really, we want to get your feedback about how you've used it. But if you haven't, I thought we would just quickly show you some of the screens to familiarize yourself with those. I'm not going to do a demo. We don't have enough time for that. But I will kind of flip through some of the functions and some of the pages that you'll see, so that it will kind of jog your memory as we're getting prepared to have a conversation about what works well and what things you would hope that we would improve. So I'll start with when you log into our portal, you'll land on a summary page. And so again, this is kind of more in that information kind of bucket of things. You're going to see, your current account balance. You're going to see past bills and past payments. And then obviously across the top, you're able to navigate to other portions of the portal to take actions and do other things. And then here, you can see these things, but you may want more detail. And so you then can kind of drive into that detail and look more specifically at those bills and payments. You can actually click on the links and see a current bill image. So you can actually see the image that we either mailed you or notified you was available for you to view online. You can go back for any bill record that we have here. You can go back and actually see that image if you wanted to go backwards and see that. Again, you can see all the payments that have been made on the account. So it's just a good way to know what's happened. Then, of course, what ties back to that is payments. And so obviously we have several payment methods. You can manage that all here online. So you can enter account information for banking if you want to do automatic draft with us. You can also set up that banking information to just initiate one-time payments, and then you can look at other payment options, how to locate us if you want to use other payment opportunities. So it's really a good place to kind of know how to make a payment and make changes as you need to. So you may have changes with accounts and want to do that, and so you can do that without interacting with one of our professionals to do that. Another information section is usage. So on that front page that I showed you initially, you'll see your usage, and these charts here look similar to what you see on your bill image. But then if you want to kind of get more detailed information, you would use these links, and they would take you to a more detailed view from a daily glance of the usage on each of your services. It also has an overlay of the weather, because obviously we know that weather impacts usage, specifically on the energy space of natural gas and electricity. So that's another tool there. And with this, you can also set up notifications. So if you know kind of what your average is, you can set a notification to remind you, like, hey, you've gone over. Good example of that is during this cold snap that we had, I have notifications set up to let me know how much natural gas I've used each day and if it exceeds amount. And I was getting one every single day, so I knew it was cold and I knew to expect a higher bill for the month. And so that's just helpful to kind of remind customers of what's going on. Then again, requests, so start, stop, transfer, I mentioned that. So again, if you clicked one of these buttons, it's going to walk you through a wizard for you to follow step by step what information we would need to stop, start, or transfer your service. And then that would be back relayed to our staff for them to take action on that. Outage reporting, and so Commissioner Hamilton mentioned this, and I will say this actually probably gets the most use outside of payments. When you think about a utility provider, we obviously don't want you to have an outage, but when you do, we want you to know about it, and we want you to be able to kind of follow along with us. So This is our outage map, and obviously we're not in an outage right now, but I wanted some data to be there for you all. This was a very bad day. This was in our test system, so we kind of test the worst scenarios sometimes. So, but you can see, what's happening across the system, but then you could also see specific to your outage, how many others in your specific area were out. And then this form here is really kind of how you walk through reporting if you didn't see your outage, as well as beyond electric, there are other ways to report other troubles. So you might see a leak in the road, you can do that without needing to call us. But this gets used fairly often. And then, again, if you want to update your contact information. And then I mentioned notifications previously, so notifications on usage, notifications on billing, and I just opened up the window for notifications on outage, because with those outages, obviously you can go look at the map that I showed you all, but we also have the ability to send push notifications to the mobile application or send a text message or email to you as we are processing that outage so that you understand kind of what's happening with the outage. So you can update all of that on the portal as well. And I mentioned due date extension, so we do from time to time have someone that needs a little extra time. So instead of needing to call us and speak with a representative, that functionality is available to customers as well on the web portal. And then enrolling in programs. So we do have some programs that customers may have interest in. And so this allows them to enroll, learn about the programs, and then make a decision whether if they want to enroll or not. And then finally, as you mentioned, Dr. Knoll, we have a similar portal that does a lot of the same things for the fiber system or fiber division, and it looks very similar. So as a user, and we've done a lot of work to make sure that if you log into our core portal, it will take you to this portal as well. So we've done a lot of work to from the customer experience to make it seamless, but we want to continue that work, and so we believe this new system will help us do that as well. So I'm going to stop there and see if there's any more clarifying questions before we kind of go into the feedback session of today.
Are there ways to consolidate multiple accounts within KUB for commercial or residential?
There are, and typically what you can do is if you have a portal account and you've notified us that you want to be able to see both of those accounts on your portal, we can help you do that and help you facilitate that. So absolutely. Any other questions?
I have one question. That's just when you all do the tree trimming or you come through neighborhoods and do that, I know I get a mail out about
Yes.
that. I have the app and I use it frequently, I like it a lot. Is there plans to have that in any sort of system just for communication?
In terms of communication,
Yeah.
like messaging
Yes,
through,
right.
we're learning, so potentially, I think what we are learning, so it's interesting from a timing standpoint, we are actually doing demos this week and have the last couple of weeks, and so some systems have that additional enhanced communication tools, and so it's helpful to understand that would be, it sounds like that would be helpful to you, is to have that kind of within the application to go see messaging. So today we do push out, so if we have got a program or a message that we want to go out globally, maybe not to a neighborhood, we do put banners in the mobile as well as on the portal that, hey, you need to be aware of, we're rolling out community solar, let me tell you more about that. Or we may be doing work in your area related to, we're flying a drone over our system. So we do put some of those types of notifications, but specific messages just to you, that is not in the portal today.
What about like gas leaks or something like that?
We actually prefer from a gas leak perspective that you call us. Because of the urgency of that, we want one of our team members to immediately respond to that. So we probably won't ever make that a function that you can do online, just simply because we want someone to be responsive to that as soon as possible.
So we generate power with a solar array and then feed it into the KUB. Is there a way to see that?
You actually can see that. So on the usage part of the portal, and what we can do, Dr. Dahl, I'd be happy to have somebody reach out to you directly and kind of show you, especially if it's metered, because
It
you're
is
kind of,
metered,
yes. We can certainly show you how to see that on the portal and see the difference between what you're generating and then what you're actually using from
Yeah, that would be
KUB's
very helpful.
system. We can certainly show you how to do that.
Thank you.
Okay.
Tiffany, I actually have a payment question.
Yes, ma'am.
I know you can set up recurring payments if you do bank draft.
Mhm.
But if you're paying with a credit card,
Mhm.
you have to do each transaction. You can't set that up
Yes.
as a recurring charge.
That's correct.
People have asked me why, and I can't answer that
Yeah.
question.
I can help you answer that question. So credit card fees are very costly. And so understanding that they are very costly and trying to balance making offerings to customers, but also managing costs specific to that. Today, we are currently covering the cost of credit card transactions. We don't pass those on to our customers. And so because of that, we have not made that an option
Okay.
that's available.
Okay.
To discourage credit card use.
Yeah.
Well,
Be
it's
specific.
available.
No,
It's
I mean,
just not
that's
available.
fair. It's within your right. It's nice to cover it.
Yeah, it's available, just not available as a recurring
Yeah.
We know
charge. And
big
so that's been
restaurants.
intentional.
We can't. We have to cover it.
That may or may not change over time as you know, we learn more. And actually, that is one of our direct questions today. And so that's a good segue into some of our planned questions. Dawn, I didn't know if you wanted to do anything or if you.
We want to normally go into small groups, and 3 members of Tiffany's customer service team are here who were going to facilitate them. They, but it will be great for them. And we're going to introduce Micah Tate and Barry Jones and Amanda Morissette. And they are going to be interested in hearing your feedback. And Tiffany mentioned the questions. She'll have some specific questions that the KUB would like some input on, but you don't need to limit yourself to those questions. Feel free to comment about anything on this topic that you'd like to.
Yeah, thank you, Dawn. Perfect. And so, thank you, team, for coming. I appreciate you guys. I wish you all got to interact with them directly. So, they're a great team. They're part of our customer service leadership team. And so they focus every day on trying to make sure experiences go well. So, I wish they were doing this, but you all definitely ask questions and jump in and get additional feedback. But a good segue is one of our questions was related to credit card processing fees. So today we do cover those fees for customers. And so if we wanted to offer that reoccurring option and we did pass the fee on to our customers, how do you think customers would receive that? Do you think they'd be okay because they're doing that with other entities, or do you think that would not be a positive thing to do?
Yeah. We don't really have an option as your customer, and that's kind of the elephant in the room. And I understand you want to be mindful of that as well and not just constantly leverage the fact that we don't have any
Yes.
other option. Sure, it'd be nice, but for me, with businesses, automatic payments are very essential with such a high velocity of transactions. So we're willing to give up the credit card points in lieu of the ease. I mean, an option would be to meet in the middle and say for a 1% fee. I mean, I think people are starting to realize that fee is somewhere around 2 to 3 to the
Yes.
average person.
Yeah.
So like, what's it worth to us? You know, you could continue to do it, but charge 1% fee, and that's 1% you're getting that you weren't getting before. So I would prefer to see something like a compromise, but
Okay.
it's just not necessary.
That's helpful. Definitely.
Ron, how do folks feel about bank draft though? Like, I mean, obviously you got bank draft, so what if you were to set up recurring and we would have your banking information? Do you feel the same way about that, or?
I have 30 to 60 current bank drafts that are going at any given moment. And like I said, when there's a high velocity of transactions, it's more like convenience. And then it would depend on the financial solvency of the entity. I think if your KUB bill's a lot of money and you've got a revolving line of credit and you don't really want to have a $8,000 charge hit,
Got it.
I can see why you would want to know, have that automatic, but
That makes sense.
the option is important.
Sure, absolutely.
And I think just what we see from the people that we serve, they are probably more likely to put it on a debit or credit card to avoid any sort of overdraft charges from the bank,
Mhm.
particularly in the low-income community, because they just know that that's a way, if it doesn't clear, it's not gonna charge them an extra fee. So, that said, I know personally, I'm used to paying those fees at this point because I pay for everything when I use my card, so it's not, it's just, it's an automatic for me now, I'm used to it, so.
Yeah, and I'll give you an example from a spouse that had a problem with a bank draft one time, and the time that it took to get it fixed versus having a problem with an automatic draft on a credit card. My husband will absolutely not allow a bank draft unless there is no other way. Will not do it, period.
Yeah, and we hear that from customers
Yes.
often. And we work really hard to protect and make sure that auto draft with banking information goes very well because of that, because we understand that it is difficult and a nuisance to customers. So that's helpful. Any other feedback about credit card processing fees before we move on to other questions about just payments in general?
I think there's just a lot of ways that you can do it without, I like the suggestion of thinking about a compromise in between. But I also think that you can just very clearly also state, for no fee, you can do an
Yes.
automatic bank draft. I mean,
Okay.
just to make sure that people know what the other options are
Options are
at
there.
that, in that moment when they're
Okay.
doing it. But I think it's our lower income folks that are gonna fuss about it more than
Yes.
other folks that are, like Misty said, we're a little bit more accustomed to absorbing that fee sometimes ourselves.
Would it be possible to set thresholds on the size of the account? So if it's like under $200, maybe you waive the fee, and above it you don't, because I like hearing your perspective on that. I'd rather give up the fee so other people can have that security.
Sure,
than credit
absolutely.
cards.
Okay, that's
I
helpful.
mean, give up the points, you know what I'm saying?
Okay, that's very helpful to kind of have that, let's create options versus making it kind of wholesale. So, okay, that's helpful. Thank you. When you think about so have any of you guys actually used the portal to make payments and set up? Okay, so tell me what's positive about that experience and tell me what you would like to be different. Are there things that don't go as you expect them to go through that payment process?
I've found it very easy. I like it. I don't have it on auto drafter. I don't know. I just like to pay my bills every month. So it's just very simple. I don't know that I have any other
Okay.
negative feedback about it.
Are you,
I like that I
you
can do
mentioned the
Project
app, so
Help.
you're using
Yeah, I'm
the app
using
when you
app.
do it?
Yeah.
Okay,
I don't ever go, I don't get online and do it,
Okay.
but
okay.
the app is really quite convenient, so.
And you've saved your banking information and you're just saying, hey, go get my payment?
Mhm.
Okay, great.
So we do the auto pay, and this wasn't mentioned, but apparently there is a way, because we do this, that we get a constant amount drafted each month.
Yes.
That they average over the year, which
Yes.
is really nice.
Absolutely.
Always know what the payment is gonna be, so
Mhm.
there's not a worry about if I'm gonna get a big bill,
Mhm.
like on a cold month.
Mhm.
So that's a very nice feature. I just wanted to say that I haven't really used the portal much, except for it's reporting
Outages.
And that was very useful and very helpful.
Okay.
They
Yeah.
had a person out very quickly.
I like to be able to go in and look and see kind of what's happening. That's
Mhm.
always, that's nice, instead of just waiting and having the unknown of when are they coming. So, good.
So, and you mentioned levelized billing, so that is another program that we offer. And that program can actually be enrolled in through going through the app. So if you're not enrolled and would like to enroll in that program, you can do that through the app or the portal. And then you could also unenroll. We don't want you to unenroll, but it is a helpful tool.
It very much is.
We really try to promote
It's
that to customers because it does help kind of avoid the highs and lows
Yeah.
across the year. So, okay. Well, it sounds like from a payment standpoint, it seems to be meeting your needs and
Convenient.
works well,
Reliable.
convenient, good. So how about today, you do have to be logged in, so you do have to have credentials, you have to have, login to make a payment. We occasionally get requests from customers that, a friend or a loved one wants to make a payment, but they don't want to give them their login information. They wish somebody like as a guest could make a payment if they knew the account number or the address for the property. Do you think that's helpful functionality for others?
Yeah, I was gonna say, so since I pay my bills every month, I know with my Verizon bill, and I think actually I have water through West Knox.
Mm-hmm.
I think if I'm in a hurry, I don't have to go through all that. I can just go in and just pay now, and that is a helpful feature. I can make a quick transaction, so.
Okay.
I don't think anybody's gonna fuss if someone pays their bill.
No, usually not.
Yeah.
But you're saying you can do that without your login credentials? Oh, okay, so that is available, is what you're saying.
Not for us, for others.
This
Oh,
was through
for
Verizon.
Verizon and
Oh,
for
for
West
Verizon.
Knox. I think it's West Knox
For
that I do that
others.
with, but.
Yeah, for others.
Yeah.
So if that was something that was available, you think it would be utilized and people would like having that as a function, so you don't have to
Parents are
kinda-
gonna like it.
Mhm.
Yeah,
If
for
they have,
students.
if they have
and-
student, like, depending on the particular situation. Or grandparents, or, whatever. I think that can be a big help.
Yeah,
If it's not that, I mean, I don't know that it's the end all be all, but if it's easy, if it's an easy function to add,
Provide it.
yeah. Provide all the things.
especially like non-digital native, it would be easier for people that just like, it's less friction in the process to pay
Yes.
their bill. They just need to remember their number, their account number.
Mhm.
But like, we sit next to some people at basketball games, and they have a lot of issues with their ticketing because it's entirely digital. And there's too much friction in that process, logging in, Face ID, two-factor identification, and like, I think it would be easi's
Okay.
I think particularly we serve such a large number of seniors who frequently forget their myself. That's the other reason I quickly go to that when I forget my passcode or my password. But that would also, I think, be a little easier for them,
For
for
them
the
to
ones
just
that are
walk
that are
through.
paying that way.
Okay.
Yes.
That's
Yeah.
helpful.
Accounts receivable should be as easy as possible for anyone.
Oh, well, true. Absolutely. Okay, that's helpful. Absolutely. So just one final question around payments, and then let's talk about some of the other functions. Are there other payment methods that we're not offering today that you think would be helpful? So you can do it by bank draft, either automatically or at will whenever you want to do it, or you can use a credit or debit card today. Are there other payment methods that you think would be helpful methods to make available?
Apple Pay would be great.
If you're going that route,
Yeah.
Venmo and Apple Pay seem to be like
The most
market
popular.
leaders.
And do you all take, like a Cash App card or a?
Well, if you have the
Will allow
card,
you to
if
do
you actually have the card with the number, yes. But
Okay.
if it's, through an electronic, like I want to use Cash App to make the payment,
And
that
can-
is not
Can people
offered.
set up Cash App for a well, I guess they can't, is that considered a credit card?
They can't using a Cash App credit card, because there's an actual card that you can tie to a Cash App.
That you could do an auto pay through?
You cannot.
Okay.
You cannot, because we're not offering it right now. Okay.
Venmo's
Okay.
gonna charge you as a business, though.
Yes.
There's a percentage, by the way.
Okay, cool. That is helpful. Are there payment questions, guys, or did you think we covered most of it?
On West Knox, I guess you enter your account number, does it give you the information, like what you need to pay?
Mhm.
Or,
Thank you. So let's talk a little bit about more of the transactional, like asking us to do something for you. Has anybody used our portal to start, transfer, or stop a service at all?
No.
No, okay.
have done said things by calling, but not
Okay.
like that.
Yeah, I still kind of don't trust it to start a service. It
Okay.
feels like-
So tell me more about that.
Something.
Why don't you trust it to start a service? That's helpful.
I mean, I might be on the cusp of that as a demographic. People younger than me probably don't care, but if I'm like starting power service, for example, or
Mhm.
gas service in a restaurant, I think I want someone to validate that
Okay.
with a voice.
Okay. You just want that reassurance that a
Yeah,
person.
too
He's gonna have
heard
workers
you.
there
Too
and
much is
he's
relying.
paying them
Too much
and,
is relying on that.
Yeah.
I feel this too.
Okay.
As a small business owner myself, but also, as a property owner of a rental property, you know, when there's a transfer of renter, I want to call. I'm gonna call.
Okay.
I don't know if it's because it feels like it's a slightly more complicated thing to do, but I don't want the power to go off.
Mhm.
It's very important to me that it gets transferred instead of turned off, so
Okay.
I call.
Okay. Well, I'm glad you mentioned that. We do have a program called Property Management.
No, I think I'm in the property, but I call anyway. I think I'm in your system that way, but, in fact, I know it's in my husband's name, but we are, but you know, it's
Just you want
supposed to
that
be automatic,
reassurance.
and it is, it never hasn't, well, no, we definitely, the reason we're paranoid is because we had this as a problem, right? That's always the reason
Okay.
that you do it. But when you have really good renters like I do, they're not gonna
It doesn't
leave you,
happen
like,
frequently.
you know, that's just not how. But I am registered in your program, so.
Okay. That's helpful. And on another note, we'll talk outside of this. I want to understand your experience when it didn't happen.
Oh, that was a long time ago.
Okay.
That was not recent.
Okay.
That was,
Many years ago.
I was a new owner of a rental property,
Okay.
and there was some naivety on my part as well. So
Okay.
that is not I
Okay.
won't put that on KUB exclusively by any stretch. In
Gotcha.
fact, I'll put it on the previous renter exclusively. But
Okay, that's helpful. Good. Okay.
To ask if there were any steps that we could take to build your trust in the web or mobile application start sign service, like a confirmation, email, or what would it take for you to trust that?
how can we earn your trust
Yeah.
today? You're walking off a lot with that car, whether you like it or not.
Starting service might happen once in a decade.
Sure.
So, I don't know, it's a pretty big hill to climb for trust on that. So if you're doing it like once a month, every other week, you're like, all right, we can get past that
Mhm.
wall, but it's just.
What happens now?
If someone doesn't do it online,
If someone does it online and wants to start service, what do you get in return?
at the end of that transaction, it gives you a confirmation page, but you don't get an email necessarily that tells you. And so I think that's where the question is coming from.
Oh, you should totally do that.
If we, yeah.
And it just says, it just says that it confirms your request.
I'll leave it.
And the date, and so it will have the details of that request. So it'll say, you want to start service at this property on this day, and here are the services we're going to start. So that confirmation page says those things, but then it's not another follow-up that then kind of further confirms, we got your order, we're
Yeah.
coming, Brian. Yeah.
But to answer your question, for me, some of the more effective forms of customer response and service is if like a name is identified, like, hey, this is Cheryl with Webstron, and we received your order, like, just
Okay.
the idea that a person might be
Okay, attached to
connected
it.
to it, even if it's AI and it's an auto-generated name.
Oh, yeah,
And I think,
totally.
and I get it as a text over an email. I mean, emails, like, I could be on a 6-day
Yeah.
turnaround on emails, but
Yeah.
like text
Yeah.
is a little bit more authentic.
I will keep it open on my screen, like for other functions. I'll keep it open on my screen until I get either the email or the text. And so that I have that confirmation number without taking a screenshot or
Yeah.
writing it down
Okay.
or whatever. Yeah.
Okay, that's helpful. Thank you. Thinking about, so it sounds like all of you guys have used outage reporting in some form or fashion. Tell us about that experience. So you've had a positive experience, it sounds like,
Yes.
with that process.
They'll give you an estimate of when they expect the power to be back on, and it's pretty accurate.
It's awesome.
Okay. So you guys like that. Are you guys enrolled in the notification? So beyond just you going in and looking, reporting your outage and us giving that information on that initial transaction, are you also enrolled in the notification so that you can get a text message or an email?
I wasn't until you followed up with me after
Yes.
our last time. No,
Yeah,
I am.
good. Okay, awesome. Have you had an outage since then?
I haven't. No,
Okay.
the only time we had to use it was with fiber, and that was because a line got ripped off from a delivery truck. And I
Okay.
think I told the story last time, it was fixed like within an
Yes.
hour. It's
Okay.
amazing.
I'm texting my husband to ask him.
Okay, great. So do you feel like the information that you get today is enough? So this is how many we think are out, this is how long we estimate it's gonna take. And then obviously, if something changes, you can always go back to that site and it will give you the updated information, but the notifications that are sent do the same thing. So you don't have to kind of initiate that, we do it for you and say, hey, we know something has changed. We're letting you know what's going on. So the information that you guys get, is that enough or is there more information you would want in that process?
Like what?
Why it happened, a photograph. I mean, I'm not saying we're gonna offer these things. This is pie in the sky, so let me just say that. Yeah, don't freak out.
Do not
Can we
give
FaceTime
people,
a line worker while they're doing it?
do not give people reasons to fuss at you.
So not necessary,
No.
really?
No.
Okay,
That, basically what we want to know is what's it coming back on.
Yeah.
okay, okay. That's good, that's helpful. That's helpful information. What about, we do have paperless billing, and so, you know, a lot of people don't actually physically get a mailed bill, but they just get a notification, hey, your bill's ready, go take a look, and then they, you know, either pay online or make a decision of how they want to pay. We do have some customers that don't do paperless billing. If that were something that we required everyone to do, what do you think the challenges would be around that? So today, our fiber business, they're all paperless. On our other businesses, we still mail bills based on preference from customers.
I just suck at
Yeah.
it. I have to set everything up on automatic because otherwise I'm not great at keeping up with
What's going on?
14 emails, and I have multiple KUB accounts, and some in my business name, and some in my name, my husband's name, and some in my, like, you know, so just trying to make sure I
Keep
just
it all
am not great
together.
at staying on top of
Okay.
it electronically, but if I get something, we get the business stuff by paper,
Okay.
and I like it that way.
Because the paper.
I'll get
kind of-
over it if you go
Yeah.
paperless, but.
The paper prompts you, so the
Yeah.
paper, seeing the paper physically.
Especially for our
prompts you.
business.
Okay.
Because
Okay.
it's a more, not all the time.
Okay.
I think it's really important for elderly people too. My mother passed away a couple of years ago, and she never had a computer, never had a cell phone. She did everything by
Paper.
paper. Yeah.
Yeah, the risk is too high with certain populations when it related to power, water.
Mhm.
Yeah. To me, I wouldn't even consider it
Yeah.
above a certain demographic or age.
Sure.
And I would say just from a CAC standpoint, a line heat, just that final notice on that envelope is a big trigger for somebody, oh, I gotta go get the help today, so I just would hate to give that up, so.
Okay.
And it would make our lives a little difficult at CAC too, if they're not walking in with that bill.
With the bill. Yeah.
For a lot of customers, and so if they have the right bill, we don't have to pull it from the portal, and that saves us time, so.
Okay. That's helpful.
This is somewhat related, or you may touch on
Yeah,
it.
sure.
An annual snapshot is really valuable for me as I go through final bookkeeping, and it's
Okay.
like, you know, in the past, I will go and download each monthly thing and kind of
Okay.
digitize it and put it up in the annual tax forms.
Okay.
But like, for tax season, for deductible accounts,
Okay.
it's really nice to have that. final-
All in one place,
Yeah.
go get it, print it out, it's there.
Yeah,
Okay.
and like how long will it be there also, maybe
Okay.
3 years.
Okay, gotcha.
Would be nice.
Okay, that's helpful. We hadn't heard that request, so that's a help. We do get calls sometimes of, hey, I need my history, can you help me? But if we provided that, that'd probably be much easier. You could log right in, click on it, have it available to you. So, okay, that's helpful.
There are also some agencies that, to your point, like the 12-month history, you can get a lot
for your engineering team, as they're labeling the months, tell them to not use the alphabet, because you can't sort it by date when it's January, February, March.
Okay,
Just use numerical sorting when they're naming the file types.
got it. Sounds like that's been a problem for something else.
That is hyper-specific
Just a
right
little
there.
tedious. Just a little tedious
This
thing.
this is clearly, right at tax season, right?
Yes. Yeah. For sure. Okay, other things from an orders and request standpoint, are there things that you wish you could do without talking to a person that you can't do?
The tree thing for me, I live in an old neighborhood with really big trees, and so frequently KUB will come in and they will give me the notice, they're gonna come trim my tree, and then I'll forget to call and say, just take it down or whatever.
Yeah.
And then they're here, and then they come, and then they're gone, and then I've missed the boat. And so
Okay.
I would really like to be able to communicate and not have to call in, because I just don't have time to do it. So
Okay.
I know that might be a tough thing to do, but that would be convenient.
So more on the like, hey, there's a tree out here, I know y'all are trimming while you're here, can you just remove the tree? And you have my permission to do that. That's really what you're, okay. So
Or
making
just
the
to give me
request
the
for removal.
notification that you're gonna be,
Okay.
so my
So both,
son isn't parked under the tree or whatever.
Okay.
So, yeah.
okay. Okay, gotcha.
Are we gonna talk about commercial deposits or credit history at any point in this?
That is not part of this, but obviously, like Dawn said, this is your opportunity to give us feedback, and so we're certainly happy
I'll
to
put
talk
in a
about that.
request that
Yeah.
if you're on good credit with KUB for multiple years of never missing a payment, that sometimes that like $2,500 commercial deposit is like, wow, we've been doing this for a decade,
Yeah.
4 businesses, is like, okay, here's maybe consider.
Returning the deposit prior to the account closing.
Yeah, when you're young and you're starting this and you don't know what you're doing,
Mhm.
you'll get a bond and you pay $100 a year. And you're like, it won't be open for 12 years or
Yes.
15 years. And by the time you're done with it, you've paid that bond every year. And you're like,
Right.
wow, I should have paid for the deposit. But if you're lucky enough to have a few businesses, I guess the commercial deposit feels a little bit like, wow, look at all this money I've given you without question for years.
Yeah.
I don't know if there's anything you can do about that.
Okay, that's helpful feedback. We do have different deposit rules based on the account, so residential versus commercial is different, so that's helpful to hear. So from a commercial standpoint, if there was a possibility to return that deposit after, good payment history, that would be helpful to those
Mhm.
business owners. Okay,
Yeah, or at least to look at the ownership structure of the business, if it's a new name, if we don't have a history with you because maybe there's a
Sure.
new partner. You do.
that's helpful feedback. Yeah. Okay. Any other kind of requests? The next piece is really just talking kind of about the information that we surface, and but are there other things that you'd like to do, like transactionally do, that you can't do today with this? Missy, I'm curious, do you know if any of the clients are using that due date extension functionality online? Or do you think most of them prefer to call us and make sure that that extension is happening? And you may not know, I'm just curious.
Yeah, I think it probably has to do with different age groups doing it a different way. I mean, those that are comfortable with it would do it that way. But I can't really, I don't know. I mean, I know there's probably fewer people doing it through the portal or online than there are calling in. I think that's just they want someone to say.
You're good.
You're good.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's helpful. Okay. So, thinking about the usage portal, because that's a big part of the customer portal, have you all utilized it for your homes or businesses at all? No,
A little.
maybe a little. Any reason why you haven't?
The app works fine. Is that
And
what you're
it's
asking?
it's there on the app as well, so.
Right, but-
I'm thinking more about, so I showed, this may be helpful to see it. So you can actually go in and look at each of your services, and you can look at the month, you can look at specific days, so you can look to see what your usage was across your billing period, like specifically day by day. And so we believe it's a helpful tool because you can then go kind of, if you get your billing statement, you have some questions, hey, feels like my water use was up, you can actually go look and say, oh, yeah, we used more water these 3 days, well, I filled the pool up that day, or we had a leak, and we had a plumber fix it, and so I can see that happen with the usage portal, but just curious, are you guys using it, and if you're not, what barriers are there, what makes you not want to use that?
It's just pure curiosity.
Yeah, I think for me, up until last month, my bills were pretty steady, so I didn't really care, but now that I'm reminded of this, I am going to go back and take a look, because, I mean, obviously I had January was a cold month. But I will go back and look just for that reason now, just to check it out.
Mm-hmm. So. And it's helpful to kind of see, like, oh, well, the temperatures were at 9 degrees, and the bar is much higher because it was cold.
And I think people do use it, to your point, when they have a water leak, and I know our staff certainly always, when we're talking to someone, to try to help them understand why their bill is so high, we use it on a real regular basis. So.
Okay.
I'm a gardener, and I totally use it for monitoring my water usage.
Okay.
In the spring, summer, fall.
Okay. Because you know it's going to be up and down, and so it just helps you kind of monitor how much you're using. And okay.
I don't monitor, I don't look at it closely, but I do look at it.
Okay.
It's helpful to have there, just more out of curiosity, but I'm a gardener too.
I want to make sure I'm not spending more on water in my plants than,
Yeah.
I'm getting that I'm
You are.
producing.
You are.
I have it dialed in pretty good.
Oh, yeah, I bet.
But I don't want to
Overdo it.
I'm willing to pay a little bit more for my own vegetables. I have to, but,
Yes.
yeah, anyway.
Okay.
It's
I
good
don't want it to
know
go
that it's
crazy,
there.
though.
It's good to know that it's there as a reactive thing.
Okay.
Whoa, the bill's higher. I mean, it also protects KUB,
Sure.
really, like, the fact that that's so transparent, like, you can always just say, well, what happened on January 20th?
I know personally, when I have met with clients and said, let's look at your bill. I don't know why my bill's so high, and you can see a giant water leak, and to be able to just educate, I mean, we do a lot of that, educating the clients on how to look at that and understand that, so.
It is awesome to get that notification
For a
that,
leak.
hey, you've got extra water, whatever happening. I don't know how you say, how you do it,
Yes.
but that has been incredibly valuable more than once.
Okay.
Like recognizing extra use.
Like a toilet is running
Yeah.
nonstop and you're out of town on vacation.
Yeah. Yes.
Me, that would be me. Yeah, because then you are like, hey, Bentley, please go to my
Take a
house
look.
and
Yes.
jiggle the thing, or, make
Yes.
sure, turn the toilet off, whatever you have to do to
Yeah.
keep it from.
We do, Brian, just for your knowledge, we do an automated phone call if we see that there's continuous water usage. So it's unusual for water to run for 48 hours in your home. And so when that happens, we notify customers because it's either they're away and didn't know, or it's somewhat of a hidden leak, or it's a toilet that's running that needs to be repaired. And so
Don't
it's,
get rid of that, whatever you do.
it's we've found that it's very helpful
Yeah,
to customers.
I would love to have that. I don't have that.
It's
for
good
myself.
you've not, it's good you've not needed it to this point, so.
If you're their customer, oh, no.
I'm
water,
West Knox
you're-
with water.
Oh,
so
you don't
I
have
get
our-
it, But
you
I would
don't
love
have
that
our-
feature.
It's,
Yes.
Yeah. And it's helped, I mean, in some properties, sometimes it's not a toilet, sometimes it's a major leak and someone's away, so it's stopped damage to their home. So it's not just the water use and the wastewater costs, it's creating a quicker solution to some damage that could be caused. So it's helpful to hear again that it's helpful. So, what other self-service portals, so you mentioned a little bit about being able to do guest pay at West Knox. What other type of self-service portals have y'all used that you really, really like? And, if we're looking at portals as good samples, or apps as good samples, what businesses, what organizations have really good self-service functionality? Can you think of any?
I just do so much auto.
Honestly, the KUB one I use is one of the easiest ones I use. It's just easy to navigate. It's very clear and concise.
Can't believe nobody said Amazon.
Okay, well, that was a pretty good one.
What company, I mean, think outside the box, I mean, what companies do you interact with in your daily retail purchases and interactions?
Yeah, it doesn't have to be a utility.
We're trying to look for best of breed in design and
Yeah.
just ease of use and things, and steal from the private sector, not just governmental, so.
Yeah.
I think the ease of Amazon is that you stay logged in. You know, so you don't have to go through that username and password every time.
Authentication,
And that would be the only
Mhm.
feedback I would give on KUB,
Okay.
is just having to do that. But I have everything saved, so I don't even do that now, so that makes it easier, but,
Keep it clean,
yeah.
screen
Yeah.
clean,
Okay.
don't clutter it.
Yeah, what's that called? UX, UI?
Yes. Yeah.
That's meaningful.
Okay.
So on the solar array, there's a company called Solar Edge that we got it from.
Okay.
And they, you can log on and it will show you the exact output of each panel at any time of day.
Okay.
So if there's something wrong, often it's just a shadow of a tree or something. but
Okay.
You can monitor it in real time. It's nice.
So you like that real-time
Yes.
kind of interaction, you know what's
Yeah.
happening real time? Okay. And
Also, we have a panel out right now that we gotta get replaced. But I
It's
wouldn't
helping
have known
remind
that
you
otherwise.
about
Yeah,
that.
I wouldn't have known that,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay. Solar Edge is what you said?
Solar Edge, yeah.
Okay. Okay, great. Other questions from you guys? We do have a question about chat.
Just out of curiosity of the things Tiffany talked about today, was there anything that you were kind of like, I didn't even know it did that, I didn't even know I could do that from the app or whatever, was there, like for instance, setting a parameter to say if my electricity goes higher than this today, give me a notification. Were you all aware of those tools, or?
I didn't know that one.
No, I didn't even know there was an app, and I didn't know I could pay with credit card. I learned that, so that's, kind of wish I knew that.
I just wonder sometimes if maybe it's,
Education.
right, we have some pretty good tools, it's just making sure our customers
You're
are
always
aware
gonna
of
have
some of the
an
tools.
age gap. I mean,
I didn't realize you could do levelized billing, but I've literally just gone on there to just pay my bill, and I haven't really navigated it at all, and donated to Project Help, and
Yeah.
so.
We definitely need to get you knowledge about that because that's a great tool.
Yeah, I was
for
even thinking it would be,
clients.
we should, because it is.
Yeah, it's a
yes.
great tool.
We
for
need to do more
clients.
education
We
around
probably
that.
should have, just information for you to give to a
Yes.
client there.
I
And they
agree.
trust you, you're a trusted resource in the community, and I think if they hear it from you, they're gonna trust it a lot more than hearing it from our team and our staff sometimes.
And as many water leaks as we have that come in for help, that would be great. I would love to be able to tell people about, hey, if you've got the app, it would notify you of this going
Yeah.
forward.
And they don't have to
Yeah.
have the app for that notification, so we're gonna do that for you regardless. What will be important is that we have a current phone number for somebody.
Well, we can tell them to answer the phone.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely.
When it's KUB
For
calling,
sure,
so.
answer the phone.
well,
so-
that is an important thing though, to make sure that whatever number you're making a call from, that it specifically displays on my phone that it's KUB, because I am gonna answer if it's KUB.
Yes.
But I silence, I have
Everything else.
all the other spammy, random
Yes.
stuff that we get, silenced. I don't, so that's an
Okay.
important.
That's helpful.
Does that happen when KUB calls? Does it say it?
Mhm.
Yeah. We've recently had to do that with one of our businesses, and it was very complicated to get that, like,
Like,
metadata accurate.
get your name.
On
yeah.
someone's cell phone, like
Yeah.
calling to a landline is different,
Yeah.
but
It's very
calling to a
difficult.
cell phone is another thing that
Yeah.
even like
It's
Verizon's
very-
back
Yes,
end,
it is.
they
Yeah, we
couldn't
have
answer it.
moderate success.
Yes.
Once we hop from different exchanges in that way, so it is a challenge, but I agree with Cheryl, I mean, I don't answer if it's not my contacts, and so, yeah, where we can do that, we really try to force them.
This is, you have the gas water heater promotion. Have you ever done like a smart thermostat promotion for people?
We actually have it. We're thinking about some additional things.
That's been
So-
like the most cost-effective way of saving money on utilities for us. And they're really easy and reliable.
Yep. That's helpful to,
They're
that's
like-
helpful to hear, too. All right, so I know we're about to bump up against time. Just one last question, chat functionality. So today, we don't offer any type of chat functionality for you to either chat with a bot that can help you walk through a transaction or chat with a person. Is that something that you use with other companies, and do you like that experience? And is that something we should consider?
I don't ever have questions that the chat can answer.
Because it's usually a bot.
I have questions that are not, I try, but.
Yes.
I use it all the time, but my trust in that brand erodes very quickly if I get put through a series of questions that can't get answered.
Okay,
And so it's risky. If you're gonna do it, it needs to be effective.
okay.
But I don't personally need it for KUB, and my fear would be that when people need to chat with KUB, it's gonna be peaks and valleys.
Okay.
And like sustaining that from an operations perspective.
May be
is like,
difficult.
Maybe doesn't seem necessary.
Okay.
Yeah, my auto dealer, that I take my car to get serviced, I've tried the chat there, and it's not very helpful. I'd really rather talk to a human being.
Okay.
Because if it's a specific problem I need to explain, a chat bot can't understand.
Yes.
If you want to look at a really good chat service,
Yeah.
there's a company called Webstaurant.
Web store on?
WEBSTAURANT is like restaurant, web
Okay,
restaurant.
got it.
KTOM's like #1 competitor
Okay.
for online restaurant retail sales. Their chat feature is the best from any company I work with.
Okay.
And not only do they put a name, they actually have a profile picture of the face of the person you're talking with.
Okay.
And it's just,
Feels more personal
yeah,
and.
it's one of the singular reasons. I've said that to KTOM. They've asked why we use them. I'm like, look at their chat feature and look how quickly we can resolve an issue.
Okay.
But I don't have that need with KUB.
Sure, on your residential side
Yeah.
and for KUB.
Yeah.
Okay, that's helpful. Okay. Well,
Well, you are small but mighty.
yeah. Yeah, this has been great. Thank you all.
Certainly if you think of anything else as you go back the next few weeks, you're always welcome to send comments back to Taylor, and I think you have Taylor's email address. Our next meeting is April 3rd, and we're going to focus on KUB's effort to do business with diverse and small business entities across the community, as well as their involvement with the Knox County Schools 865 Academy. So I think it'll be an interesting session, and we really appreciate you being here today.
Yeah.
And we are adjourned.
Yeah.
And thank Tiffany.
Thank you.